Welcome, everybody. This is Sarah Haas with the Boss Body Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I'm really excited to introduce my guest because I know that she has so many tools that are going to really resonate and help so many of you out there. My guest, Laura Wade, is a soul to goal guide and empowerment coach. And I know a lot of you are in a stage of life where you're experiencing a lot of transitions. As we get into that midlife area, things are changing, kids are growing up. Maybe moving out, leaving home, maybe you're retiring or changing careers, your body's changing, your hormones are changing, and it can be a lot for anyone to deal with. I know very well because I am right there in the fire with you. And that is why I wanted to have Laura on today because she has so many tools to help us not just navigate through this period, but actually come out thriving instead of just getting through it. She wants to help us learn how to really just live our best, most passionate, exciting second half. So, Laura, thank you for being here today. I'm so excited about our conversation.
Sarah, thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
So, tell me a little bit about what that means to be a soul to goal guide and an empowerment coach. I absolutely love that title. And I would love to hear, what does that mean to you?
Well, the concept of soul to goal guide came to me during a meditation because I feel like what I do is lead people on an inner journey to discover who they really are, their authentic selves, what's important right now, and throughout your life, um, throughout our soul life, and bring that forth and live that in the world. And so to go from your soul, the essence of who you are, to your goals. Because a lot of times we set goals without actually doing our inner work and figuring out who we really are and how we want to show up and express ourselves in the world. So I help people do that. I work with women to empower them to go within and then live their life based on the journey that they've discovered within themselves.
I love that because I know growing up, I had these specific goals for my life. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to have a career. I'm going to be a mom. And all those are great. And I did accomplish those goals. But those are sort of superficial, external type goals.
Mhm.
And then I feel like since I've been like maybe late 40s to I'm 51 now. So, during this past 5-ish years, I've really started looking more internally to,
Mhm.
okay, I checked these things off my list, but didn't quite that didn't quite fill me up with
Right.
what I know I'm here on earth to do. I mean, being a
Mhm.
mom, I won't diminish that in any way. That's the most amazing, wonderful, incredible thing I've ever done. And I know that was part of what I was put here on the earth to do.
Right.
Now that my kids are getting older, getting more independent, they don't need my support and my guidance and my presence nearly as much anymore. And I think a lot of us, in this stage are kind of like trying to figure out who we are. And
Mhm.
I like what you said, getting back to the soul because that's your authentic self.
Right, right. And I think that happens for a lot of women. I know it happened for me. I said I got caught in mommydom, where obviously we're completely passionate and enthralled with our children and being a wonderful mom. And that is one of our most important roles in our lives. And at the same time, that's not all of who we are. And so rediscovering those parts of ourselves as our children get older, especially, we start realizing that there are parts of ourselves that we need to reclaim and bring forth and share with the world, because we've been using our gifts as a mom, and then we also have gifts that are ours to share with our community, and the world. however big that is for you. Sometimes that means we're making a difference down the street or with our neighbors, and sometimes it means we're sharing our gifts on world stages. So it can be anywhere in between. But what resonates with you, and what are your unique gifts and talents and ways that you can express yourself in the world and make the difference that you're here to make.
I
Because
like that word reclaim that you
yes.
mentioned because and it doesn't have to be during motherhood, but you said, you kind of got lost in mommydom. And, I, of course, experienced that. And I'm sure the listeners out there that have kids know exactly what we're talking about. But even if you don't have children,
Mhm.
somewhere along the way, whether it was in your marriage or in your
Mhm.
career, you get caught up in accomplishing or doing or being what you thought you should be.
Right.
And now it's time to reclaim not just what you should be, but what you are and put that out into the world.
Right. Sometimes I feel a lot of the work that I do is helping women chip away the layers that they've put on of the expectations of the outer world, and the shoulds that we put on ourselves, because we do that as well. But a lot of that is based on what we see in the external world and what we think we're supposed to be doing or being instead of who we actually are. And so helping release some of that and let go of those things, those expectations that we or other people have put on us and ourselves, and then reclaiming who we really are.
Yeah, and that can be hard, peeling off those layers because that's sort of our armor. You wear your roles as your identity, your job, whatever those things are. And it's kind of scary to think about chipping away at those because that's what you have put forth for the world to see.
Yeah, it is, because it's a very vulnerable place to be. Um, but at the same time, when we're interacting with people with that armor on, that keeps us from having those authentic connections that we crave so desperately. Knowing someone at their more deeper level is so much more powerful and meaningful, and helps us feel like we're not alone when we see that vulnerability in someone else. And when we're being vulnerable, it also opens up the possibility for other people to be vulnerable. And then we're connecting soul to soul instead of armor to armor. So we're really connecting,
That's
not
so
just
true.
pretending.
Yeah, it's so true. I've discovered that throughout my life, because like starting in those teen years, you just want to fit in. So you just want people to like you. So you don't want to be different in any way. You want to try to
Mhm.
be the same as much the same as possible as everyone else. And then growing into adulthood, it's almost like a retraining. Like, no, we don't all want to be the same. Uh, if we're all the same, nobody's being their real self. So not only do they not get to know you, you don't get to know them. And I have definitely been going through a process of peeling back those layers, um, for a long time. But when I had my whole journey with breast cancer, I was sort of stripped of my armor for a while. I am a fitness person and I couldn't work out. And I work. I'm a career woman. I couldn't work. I'm a mom. I couldn't do the things for my kids that I wanted to do. I even lost, my outward physical appearance, which is, you are used to presenting yourself in a certain way to the world, and then suddenly my hair's gone and I'm having surgeries, and um so it was almost like a forced really abrupt peeling away of layers. But as I healed and as those things started coming back, my abilities, my strength, my physical body, I realized that people didn't love me any less. when I didn't have all of those things. And I have made a very concerted effort to put my real self and to be
Mhm.
vulnerable. And I have noticed it coming back to me multiplied with exactly what you said. The people that come to you
Mhm.
are drawn to that real, authentic person that you are. And they have permission then to also show you their authentic self. And it's just amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm imagining light, two lights coming together, and making a brighter light. um, that it's when we reveal that part of ourselves and allow ourselves to be seen as the beautiful light that we really are and the soul that we really are. Um, and I think you are a great example of that. That you like you stripped away some things, and then um, we're able to recognize who you really are and share that with the world. And you do draw people to you. I've seen that in some of our other interactions, how you draw people to you. And I think that one of my favorite quotes is by Marianne Williamson. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? And I love that, because I think that that is, if we can remember that, who are you not to be? You are already all those things. It's just allowing yourself to see that and to open up to that and share it with other people.
So, how did you become an empowerment guide? Is it through life experience or is this something that it doesn't seem like something you could just, learn in school and get a certification? I know personally, my work is guided so
Mhm.
much by my own life experiences, and not that others have that exact experience, but we all have certain things that we can relate to and that have parallels. So, tell me a little bit about you and how this came about for you.
Okay, well, because it's kind of a combination of all those things. And it's evolved over time. So when I first started doing this work, it was my own personal transformation, and I studied a lot, I learned a lot, I went to a lot of trainings. Um, I've done a lot of online trainings. I worked with Jack Canfield, and I got certified as a passion test facilitator. So that was in 2007 when I got certified as a passion test facilitator, and that's when I realized that I really wanted to be um, helping people and empowering them to live their passions and purpose. I was doing something before that too called the On Purpose Person. So it was kind of a theme in my life where I really was interested in people living their passion and purpose. And so at first I went very much by the book, by what I was taught, right? I followed what I was taught and shared that with people the way I was taught it. And then I started collecting different tools and techniques and practicing different things myself and coming up with my own programs and ideas, and listening more to my own intuition and my spirit, and being guided more intuitively in how I coach people instead of by the book. So a lot of what I do now is much more individualized because it is based on that intuitive feeling. I can talk to someone and maybe initially have a plan of what path we're going to take, and then something else comes up for them that they share with me, and intuitively I feel like, no, we need to detour a little bit and do this first. And I can really personalize it because of that intuition. And for me it was reclaiming that part of myself, that intuitive part of myself, and allowing myself to share that with the world, because that was something that was um, harder for me because of what uh, some of my family members said about that part of me, right? So I kept that hidden for a while, and even what Soul to Goal guy came to me, and I didn't claim it for a long time. It took time for me to see myself and step into my soul vision, and share it with the world. So I think for all of us, it's an evolution, it's a process, and um, we're ready at different times to reclaim different parts of ourselves and to declare and claim it out into the world.
Yeah, and like you said, that can be really difficult, especially because you're always going to have haters. There's always going to be critics who, for whatever reason, don't think that women a lot are told intuition isn't a real thing. That's just woo woo. That's just your emotions or, whatever. And that's not going to serve you. What will serve you is your, education, working hard. Not that
Hmm.
all those aren't important, but we are taught, from a young age and throughout our lives that certain parts of us that make us feminine, that give us that feminine wisdom, that
Hmm.
inner power that we have, uh, we're told to quelch that, to
Hmm.
keep that under the rug, and what you've done is not only let it out, you've unleashed the beast and turned it into a whole career. And now you're helping other women do the same.
Right. And probably, like you said, is it based on your own experience? That is the reason that I do it, because um, I knew I was intuitive, and that part of me started coming out, and then people were naysayers and people that I was close to. So I took it personally, even though encourage people not to take things personally. I
It's
did.
impossible.
Yeah, yeah. It creeps in there sometimes, doesn't it? And then it took me time to get back to the point where I could reclaim it again and share it with people. And so I love being able to empower women to do that, because I think our intuition is um, incredibly important. And um, I I I feel like we all have masculine and feminine qualities, characteristics, what we stereotype or call them as, but even from a soul level. But we're all one, and we all have both, and it's which one is serving us right now. Which one do we want to lean into and use effectively in our lives? How is it going to serve us, and how can we serve others by incorporating our masculine and feminine, and um, trusting our intuition, and even knowing when to lean into which, right? When to lean into action and when to lean into our intuition, and going inward and doing our inner work versus our outer work in the world.
Right, because the outer work is that yang, that masculine, and the inner work is the yin. And if you want to be balanced and bring balance into the world, you have to harness both parts of yourself and be proud of both and
Hmm.
use both in a balanced way. So tell me, how do you help women through this process? So when tell me how they find you. Like, what are they looking for? Are these women that are, going through a rough period or have just, gone through a transition in their lives or are just feeling bad about themselves? Like, who comes to you? And then tell me how you help them evolve and what you're hoping to help them achieve.
Typically, it is a woman who is in transition in some way in her life. And sometimes it may not be a huge outward transition, like it may not be something that you would consider a transition, um, like a divorce or career change, although sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's just that inner nudging of something feels off, or I don't feel complete. I feel a little lost, or um, like my life is good, but it's not great. Like there's still something, you know. And so then what we look at is, so what do you really want in your life? What do you think is missing? What do you think if you changed it, your life would be what you want it to be, and feel more complete and fulfilling, because fulfillment is a big part of it. Um, and that's different for different people. We have some basic commonalities of what fulfills us, and then we have things that are very unique to each of us. And so we look at, what are your passions? What are you passionate about? What brings you joy? Like I always say, even if you get off this podcast, and you want to start, where do you start? You notice what you notice, and notice what brings you joy. And are you focusing on the things that bring you joy, or are you focusing on other things? And so the first step is figuring out what brings you joy and getting clear about that. And then we go through steps to figure out, well, why hasn't that been part of your life? How can you have more of that in your life? And that can involve mindset work. We can be looking at releasing limiting beliefs. We can be looking at affirming what we do want, reclaiming. Um, and I do that through some of the tools like journaling. And then we also do visualizations. I'll lead them through guided visualizations to help them have that clarity, and um, to begin to really see what it is that they want to bring into life. And lots of exercises and tools, worksheets to help them in between our times together, that they can do some of their inner work, and then we do it together. And like I said, a lot of that's intuitive, so it may depend on what they show up with. um, and then we talk about purpose and their bigger why, and how can they focus on that, and what are the qualities they'd like to be expressing in the world. How do they want to show up in the world? One of the things that I'm working on now is a presentation on identity informs our choices. And because who we think we are is how we show up. We make decisions and choices every day, all day long. And if we think, like you said, you're into fitness, you're a fitness person, you said. So you would make choices that would be different from someone who thinks of themselves as an academic who likes to read books and sit on the couch, and or a film critic. Like, if someone thinks of themselves that way, then they're going to make different choices. So um, we look at that too. We look at, who do you think you are, and how do you make choices based on who you think you are, and who do you want to be? Because really and truly, what I think is that who you want to be is who you really are deep down inside. And it's just you haven't been expressing it, like we were talking about before, the layers. And so part of my role is to help peel away some of those layers, so that you can see how wonderful you already really are, how great you are, who you really are, and show up that way in the world.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that because, like we said before, those layers are your armor. That's what
Mhm.
you have decided. And a lot of it's informed by what you're good at, what you enjoy. It's not that those are a bad thing. It's just that that's only part of you. And if women are coming to you because they have a little niggling, what's missing, I got everything that I said I wanted to get, and now I'm still like feeling incomplete. Why is that? And so you're helping people go, okay, that's because there are other parts of you that are
Mhm.
unexplored, and you aren't making choices based on those parts also. Because yes, you may be a fitness person, you may be an academic, you may be a whole lot of things, and you will make choices on that. But what else are you?
Yeah.
And it's those neglected pieces that you aren't using. You're not making choices based on those parts of you. So you're not showing up in the world as those parts of you.
Yeah. And I think we become attached to our roles a lot of times, and how we behave in different roles. I'm trying to think who I was listening to just recently. It was over the weekend. It was talking about how we um, act differently with different people. And so looking at that, like, and why do we do that? Why do we think we have to act differently with different people? And I'm not saying that sometimes, if you're in front of a room doing a presentation, you might be different than if you're sitting across from the coffee table talking to your best friend or your husband, right? But just your overall, like showing my spiritual side, my woo woo, you know, showing that is something that, even no matter where I am, I want that to be part of who I am and how I'm showing up. But I didn't always do that, and so being willing to do that and to trust that when you're showing up as all of yourself, that other people, the right people, will be attracted to you. And you kind of touched on that earlier. And I think that's what it is. When you let your light shine like full blown, you are attracting people who are attracted to that light.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. That's just beautiful. It's just accepting all the parts of you and knowing that you not only are allowed to let those show, but you should let it show, regardless of whose company you're in. Because that's so true. I mean, a lot of us can be chameleons based on the group of people that we're going to be around. And we want to dim down parts of us that we feel like they're going to be judging or not liking or not
Mhm.
accepting. And I mean, not that we have to be loud and forceful and expect others to be on the same page that we're on. It's not that. It's not about changing other people. It's just about not changing you for everybody else.
Right. Exactly. It uh, and this goes so much with what you do, with the work that you do. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, you know, um, loving yourself where you are. And when you love and accept yourself where you are, what other people think doesn't matter as much. I mean, I'm not going to say we ever get 100% never care what someone else thinks of us. We probably all have the little thing every now and then, the little ping in our head. Um, but we're so much more able to be okay with whatever they think, because we are okay with ourselves and we love ourselves. And like I said, I know you do that work too, and I do that work, and we probably have some overlap in how we do it with the mindset part. But it's so important, and I think that for me is the biggest thing, is about choosing love. So choosing love for yourself, and choosing love in the things that you express and do in the world. And that works when you love yourself.
Yeah, and that's what it all comes down to, and I
Mhm.
feel like that's really what you're helping us tease out of ourselves is let those parts show, and then you will realize how amazing they are and how amazing you are because of all the parts of you, not just because you show a, successful career or, whatever it is. It's every part of you. And if you allow yourself to be vulnerable and if you allow yourself to be seen, and then you realize other people still love you, or even more people come into your world because you're drawing them, you're attracting them to you, then that's that like comfort and validation that, "Oh, I am okay." I mean, really, that's what we're all trying to do, right? In life. We all
Yeah.
just want to be lovable and be enough for people and like ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just a lifetime journey of trying to love yourself.
Yeah. And I think that is like at the crux of everything, is to love yourself. And the work that I do with people is to help them with that, like, what I tell people is, what I'm passionate about is empowering women to love themselves and love their lives. And
Perfect.
And that is really the basis for everything, is getting to that point where you love yourself and love your life.
And I know that you have a resource to offer our listeners to help them with this process that we've been talking about today. Can you share what that is and a little bit about it?
Yes, I have a free guide called 5 Steps to Falling in Love with Your Life Again. And it helps you go through a process to look at your passions, and to write a purpose statement so that you have some clarity and focus on what is your overall why and purpose. And what are some, I have some tips on there too on how do you start living that. And like I said, one of them is to notice what you're noticing, and focus on the joy, because you're very powerful, and you have the capability to create whatever you want to create. And it starts with believing that you're capable and you're worthy and deserving. And so, starting with knowing your purpose can help you focus on how you want to express yourself in the world as well.
Well, I love that you have a resource for people who really are interested and wanting to get to that place. So that gives them a great starting point. So, anyone who's listening, if this is resonating, if this has struck a little chord with you, I highly encourage you to go check that out. And Laura, they can get that on your website.
Yes, they can get that at my website, which is at thrivebyheart.coachesconsole.com.
And can they also find you on social media?
Yes, at Thrive by Heart. I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Thrive by Heart. I love it. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Laura, thank you so much. This was just such a
Thank
wonderful
you.
conversation. It just warms my heart to know that women out there like you are, we all have to give each other support and a hand up and help um whatever we've gone through and learned. I think it's our duty to stretch a hand out to offer it to others. And I see that that is what you're doing. And I just love it. And so I just want to thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. And until next time, I will see you then.